Welcome to a deep, dark, dank, moist basement somewhere in the bowels of Georgia.
Welcome to Can't Find the Damn Time, Bruce.
No shit.
Get our schedules to match, man. It's weird. We're not very busy people. It's just when you're busy, I'm not. When I'm busy, you're not. It's just weird as hell.
Well, and then throw in the fact that I've had the worst luck with automobiles in the last month and a half, so.
Yeah, that'll put a damper on anything.
Now, I did during the holidays get to sample the sampler that Lumi Joe shared with us. He knocked it out of the park. I think he only picked two that I didn't like. There's a blood orange, and I apologize, Lumi, that he sent us a 6-pack of, and I had 3 of them. Of course, you had 3 of them, or maybe he sent us a 12-pack. I don't remember. Anyway, it's different and it's good, but it's not one that I would drink a lot of. I will say the Shiner variety pack that he sent was pretty dang amazing.
Well, let me tell you, I sampled all of them in one sitting.
What?
I don't really remember how good the last couple were, but them first couple were good as hell.
Yeah, there's some high gravity ones in there. Me and my brother decided to do
They do the trick. Let's just put it that way.
Tour of Texas, I guess is what you could say. And so I brought one of each to Christmas, and we had half, but we wound up equivalently, we drank, I think, 7 apiece. So yeah, pretty good stuff right there.
Yeah, well done. They definitely they ferment pretty well out there.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So this is a little bit different episode. In the years past, we've done a top 5, bottom 5, and we kind of got away from that at the
because let's just put it this way: it's hard to pick that bottom 5. It's very hard to pick the top 5, and very hard to pick the bottom 5 because there's just so many to choose from.
But what we decided to do is, since we made the move to Anchor, which we've been with them now, I believe, a year.
Let's do the top 10 from the anchors.
Yes. And so in true top 10 fashion, we will start at number 10 because this podcast would end immediately if I started with number 1.
Yeah, it's over. No one's going to listen. No one gives a shit.
So number 10 was the disappearance of El Fausto.
Who's that guy?
That is the ship.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wound up in the middle of the damn ocean, 1,000 miles off course.
That's the one that disappeared 3 damn times?
Yeah. Yep. And 2 of the times they were like, no, man, we're good. We got it.
We're not lost. We're just chilling. And then apparently the cocaine kicked in and people just disappeared.
Yep. And then the next one, number 9.
We're just going to do that quick. We're not going to.
I don't remember a whole lot about the El Fausto except that they had.
Pontificate on each case. You're just going to be like, all right, number 9, number 8, number 7, we're out.
Yeah, we're out. See you. No, I'm just joking.
Right.
No, the El Fausto has done quite well. I need to pull up. Here, I'll do it this way.
Oh, here we go.
I'll put one on the screen, and then that way I can actually look at our episodes on Spotify because that's where it's at, Spotify. So we did not publish our year in 2022 wrapped, but we did quite well. I can give you some statistics at the end.
Statistics.
Well, I said I was going to do this, but okay, so I guess we're not going to do this. Dashboard. It is raining like nobody's business over here.
It is insane outside my house. Like it's just tap, 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 tap. And what about that gentleman, Hamlin?
Yes, Mr. Hamlin.
From the Bills?
From the Bills. He scared just about everybody.
Cardiac arrest on the field. That is insanity.
Yes, it is. So I can find everything. Oh, there it is. Found it. We're good now. All right. So
about time, because I ain't got much to riff on. I'm not very good at it.
Why is this not going in order? That did. There it is. The disappearance of the El Fausto. And it came in at number 10, just barely edging out the disappearance of Giafuda.
Oh, really?
Yes, it did. So El Fausto, remember, was the sailing ship. I don't guess it was really a sailing ship, but they would go from their home port up the coast and always keep the coast in view, and they'd go to another port, pick up goods for their little village, and then they would come back. And in the story, if you have not listened to it, we'll give you the Reader's Digest version. It was a crew of 3, but they decided to pick up a young man who had missed the trolley because his wife was pregnant. So they had a crew of 4, and they miss their usual arrival time, and they are spotted by a ship. I think originally they were 60 miles off course, and they were like, no, we got it. You know, everything's cool. And then they're spotted by a shipping container vessel. They are extremely way off course, but again, they say that they've got enough rations and fuel to get back home. And that ship happens to go into port and was like, hey, they should be here in about an hour. They were right behind us. Well, they never show up again. So they wind up disappearing in total of 3 times. And when they find the ship, they only find the young man that was catching a ride back to their village, which adds to the mystery.
See, I've always wanted to be like a sailor, well, not really a sailor, more like a rich guy that bought his own boat and sailed around. But there's just too many weird stories about people just disappearing like that.
There's a friend of my family's. He used to own a sailboat, and he would sail out of Fort Lauderdale to the Bahamas, the Keys, and stuff like that. But he said that he was always within eyesight of land until he started towards the Bahamas. And then he said he didn't put the sails up. He dropped the motor, and they got on it to get over there and get back.
Yeah. We sailing, boy. We fucking gone. Like, let's get there as soon as humanly possible.
He did say that it was cool sailing from Fort Lauderdale around the coast of Florida down through the Keys and then back up into the Gulf. He said that was pretty cool. But he said that at any time there was weather coming, he would go into port, batten down the hatches, and he wasn't stupid. So, and I'm not saying that the crew of the El Fausto was stupid. I'm just saying that they probably made that trip. I think during the episode we discussed it, that they probably made that trip 100 times and probably didn't think anything about it. But what the mystery of that is, how did they get off course? And if they had land in sight, what were they seeing? So number 9, the Storyville Slayer.
I don't even remember this one.
Now, the Storyville Slayer was the basic serial killer from New Orleans, and they suspect that he killed 24 sex workers and drug addicts, most of whom were women, in New Orleans during the early to mid-90s.
That was like close to...
It was only June.
Oh, I don't remember that far back. I drank a lot.
So that one was, they found, like, if you'll remember, they found, I think his first 6 victims within like a mile and a half of each other. I mean, you could literally take a baseball and throw it to each victim. And it was, the first body was found on like a little alleyway where people dump trash.
Why on earth would you throw a baseball at a victim, man? You are a jerk.
I'm cruel.
You're already dead. Why are you going to hit them with a baseball?
That's just how I roll. That is one of the only, well, I'll take that, not only, but that is only the second serial killer we did, because we don't know who he is. And Coach is not doing serial killers that he knows the ending to.
Well, that's the whole point of the fucking podcast. I don't understand how people aren't satisfied with that. I love when we get suggestions, but a lot of them, they're like, hey, man, do this. It's like, well, solved. Yeah, but it'd be cool. It's like, I get that. I understand it would be cool, but we don't do solved stuff.
So the next one was one of Coach's.
I will die on that hill.
He is.
I'm sticking to it. It's not solved, Bruce.
4 years, we are dying on that hill. The next one, so this would be number, what, 8?
Yep.
That'd be 10, 9. Yep, that'd be 8 right there. So it's the Jared and Michael Negrete. And Negrete, if you'll remember, was not a very common family name. So
Still not.
To have 2 people go missing in California years and years apart.
And like miles and miles apart too, because Jared, which one was the one that was after Michael?
I don't remember which one was
one
first.
That was like from Maryland. He was there for college.
Yeah. And then the other one was a scout. He was on a scout trip and he tore ass down the hill.
Yep. Never to be seen again. That's just, I don't know. If you're a follower of this podcast, first of all, ask yourself why. Second, thank you. Third, you know that I'm obsessed with disappearances. It is so insane to me. People can just disappear off the face of the earth. No trace left behind. Both of these guys with the same last name in the same state, just gone. I don't know. It's just fascinating to me.
So, Ghost in the Machine. I keep forgetting that you can hear that.
You sending text messages during the podcast?
Actually, I was trying to send an email, but it's okay.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, all right, sidebar. They add 2 sections to my schedule, so I'm teaching 1st through 6th with one 50-minute planning period and get an hour for lunch. So, not real happy about it, but
that sucks, dude. You win the Mega Millions like you said you was going to?
If I did, we'd be face-to-face with the beach behind us.
You promised to take care of me.
But anyway, back to the Negrete. It kind of checks off some of the boxes of the missing 411. And if you are a longtime listener of this podcast, you will know that we are extremely fascinated with the missing 411 and Mr. Dave Pilates' work. So we get into numero 7, and that is Jennifer Kessie. And if you will remember, that one was a while back too, to jog old Coach's mind. That was back in February of 2022. And she was a young professional businesswoman that leaves for work and disappears without a trace. And this is the one that authorities had CCTV footage of, but every time the CCTV would take a picture, he was either had the just blind luck of his face always being obscured, or
oh yeah,
they find her car at the apartment complex.
Complete just
cray in the ray.
Happenstance, dumb luck on that fucking idiot's part.
Yep. It is, man. And that one was a wild one. That is one of the probably big true crime cases out there, because it's so strange that she would have allowed someone into her apartment, because during the episode we discussed how they were doing work on the apartment complex that she lived in, and anytime the workers were coming in to either repaint or put up new paneling or whatever, she was always on the phone with her dad or her brother or her boyfriend. So again, very strange that she would leave. Not a single person saw her disappear. But if you'll remember during the episode, the master key happened to go missing about a week before she disappeared. So it's pretty interesting that maybe someone let themselves in. But in the case, we discussed how it did not, the inside of her apartment did not show signs of a struggle. It just looked like she had gotten ready for work and walked out the door and was never seen again. All right. So we get to number 6. And this one was when we first met our boy, Heater. And he said, y'all gots to do Bardstown. And so we did. And Bardstown, Kentucky Part 1 made the top 10 at number 6.
Really? I don't think I was on that episode.
I'm pretty sure you were.
I don't think I was. I think that's when you just, stopped talking to me because you're pissy about something.
Well, again, this was almost a year ago.
You just go whole truck and you ain't going to acknowledge that, huh?
And this was the episode that we dedicated to Miss Kim Phillips. She would have had a ball with this episode because it was just rife with corruption and stuff like that. So that was our shout out to Miss Kim Phillips.
Who is missed
dearly, because I still have things that I'm like, man, I wonder what she thinks about, especially now that all this stuff is coming out about the Rebecca Gould case. I wonder what she's thinking about that stuff. So, but if you've not, and I will say this, Rebecca Gould did not make the top 10 on Spotify, but of all time, we're not doing all time. We're just doing the year in review. Rebecca Gould's case, they did catch that POS, and they finally released the murder book. And they were supposed to release it to Rebecca's dad, but they publicly dumped it, which pissed everybody off. And
would do that, yeah.
Good friend of the podcast, Miss Buchholz, her and author George Jarrett are championing the cause there. They are going through that murder book page by page and trying to organize it. There are some very interesting things that they have found. If you are interested in the Rebecca Gould case, please join that Facebook group. She does a phenomenal job.
Is that our all-time favorite episode? Most listened?
No, all-time is still episode number 1.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a great case. But, God, that was just awful on our part because we just didn't know what the hell we were doing. And that was the remake. Like, we did it twice. The first one, holy shit.
We were hammered the first one.
Yeah, that's true. I'm surprised Glitter ain't way up there.
Oh, it is. That's what's funny is we're not doing all time. People are probably listening to this going, man, I didn't even know half of these. I don't remember half of these cases. Our longtime listeners probably are thinking, man, these are just, random cases. But no, these are just the top 10 for this past year, 2022. Let
me tell you, apparently that Glitter has been solved. They finally came out and said, yes, it is bass boats, but I don't believe that shit.
Well, the stuff they don't want you to know did a little mail drop on it, and it was bass boats and the Defense Department. And they wouldn't get into the Defense
Department.
They use it as some kind of special paint for stealth is the hypothesis, because you're not going to get the federal government to tell you one way or the other.
Yeah, and then but if it is bass boats, my question now would be, why the damn secrecy about it?
I know, that's what I don't know. I mean, I guess they're are bass boat companies embarrassed by how many pounds of glitter has to go into one bass boat? I mean,
they thinking them rednecks are, oh hell no, man, I ain't buying that shit because it's got glitter in it. Like, no, that's
how they sparkle. That's how they get the sparkle. All right, so top 5. This was a user request that we were kind of like, why the hell haven't we ever done this one? And that is the disappearance of Amy Fitzpatrick. We did that one back on April 13th of 2022. She is the young lady that left her friend's house on New Year's Day of 2008 at 10 p.m. to head home and is never seen again. And this is the expats that moved from Ireland over to, was it Italy, I believe?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yes.
I remember correctly.
So, yes, that is the
numero. I suspected that her parents were
her dad is the one that stabbed and killed her brother.
Yeah.
A couple years later.
I remember now.
Yeah.
Which is not suspect at all.
No.
Really unrelated murder.
And her mom's like, I stand by my husband, and even though he murdered my son, I don't think he has anything to do with the disappearance of my daughter.
Sheesh.
Oh, well. But what that is, we got one of our 3 abroad, I guess you can, well, not 3. We only have 2 that are abroad. We have a couple north of the border that are patrons, but we have 2 abroad patrons, and Aisling, I know I'm probably messing that up, and I apologize.
You got to get these right if they're paying money to listen to them.
From Ireland, that's how we gained that patron. And then, of course, Cody, Tim's the great Cody from Down Under. She's always sending funny little things on TikTok. Lives in probably one of the most beautiful little coves I've ever seen on the coast of Australia. So if we win the Mega Millions, you're gonna have neighbors.
If I go to Australia, I'm gonna go to that little ass town that Patty Moriarty was from.
Yes, and have the meat pies.
Yeah, go have the meat pies and
fight a kangaroo.
8 or 9 beers a night, and then walk back to your house.
Yeah, I mean, he was living life. And if you don't know that one's actually a micro brew that turned it damn near into a full episode.
I'm just fascinated by that little town. It's just like there's like 8 people there. There's 13 people there until he went missing. Now there's 12.
And then he was pissy with what he would take and dump his hog carcasses in that lady's yard.
Not the carcass, just the one particular part.
That's right. Sorry, I forgot.
Whiners? Throwing some whiners in the driveway?
It's not good.
That's no good.
No bueno. No bueno.
Yeah.
All right, so number 4.
On the glass at the Alano Club.
Number 4 is The Watcher. And
which I still haven't got around to watching the Netflix series on it.
I watched the first one, and from what I can gather, they kind of turned this into some fictional stuff. So it at the first episode kind of goes along with what we all know. But it kind of like episode 3 or 4 kind of turns, and you're like, really? This is how y'all are going to take this? But anyway, The Watcher, man, that one freaked a lot of people out. Freaks me out still. I burn that son of a bitch to the ground. I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. If it's legit, like there's not some sort of hoax behind it and they're involved, there's just no damn way I'm staying at that house. I'm gone.
Yeah.
You can have all the young blood you want with my fat ass not there.
Yeah, you can have some new young blood.
Yeah.
So if you don't remember The Watcher, that's the couple buys a house in just a couple of streets over from where the wife grew up. It's in a prominent neighborhood. Very quiet, quaint, I think it was like $1.2 million home. While they're kind of remodeling it, they get these strange letters that are addressed to them, and then they call their kids by name. So it's literally someone that is within earshot of the house. And it is quite the tale. If you have not listened to that, episode 128, The Watcher. All right, we're into the top 3. Coming in at number 3 is Mr. Charles Morgan, and he was the one that disappeared without a trace after dropping his daughters off at school. 3 days later, he reappears with a wild tale that they put something in his mouth that he could not talk. He gets extremely paranoid, starts wearing body armor, and then his car is found. He disappears again, and he is
10 days or something. Like 10 days later, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
His car's found in the Arizona desert with some strange happenings with the evidence, but they try to say it was a suicide, which...
most people suicide themselves in the back of the head and carry weird ass $2 bills with a weird message and a map drawn on it.
I mean, don't you have a $2 bill right now with a weird message in your wallet? I mean, who don't?
I do, but I'm just a weird motherfucker.
Oh man! All right, so number 2 And this is one that we had kicked around for years about doing.
This is the one I thought was going to get us killed.
Yeah.
I thought this, if not at least make the list on where they're monitoring us, and then they're like, well, we'd get rid of these some bitches, but only like 200 people listen. So,
yeah. Yeah. This is episode 135, Danny Casolaro and the Octopus. And you talk about crazy. I mean, we could have went on, which we did go on and do a part 2. But
isn't there like a whole podcast devoted to this thing?
I believe so.
Not, it could be.
I believe there is. I believe after we released our episode, we got some messages saying that someone had done that. But y'all, that is the craziest cat. I mean, he was on the verge of some huge discovery. There's a couple of YouTube videos out there about where some paranormal investigators go out, stay in the 2 rooms. They actually rent the room that he was found in, and then the room that adjoins that room, and they get some strange shit going on. And so,
you know what? The thing about on YouTube that I didn't know that there was more to it is the M Cave, Kenny Veach and the M Cave. There's a bunch of videos claiming that they've actually found it. They've been in it, and weird stuff's going on, and it's supposedly solved now. But of course, I'm just lazy. I mean, if I'm not busy, I'm being extremely lazy. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I need to.
I was going to say, if they found it, I want to see if the cave really looks like an M.
The one that claimed it was like a very small M, not what me and you both were thinking, like a big ass capital M.
Yeah. And it's not one of them you got to bend over to get in?
Yeah, it's one of those. You got to like get down and crawl inside of it.
No, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm not a crawler.
No, I don't do that. Fat man squeeze up at Rock City? No, ain't doing that either.
Oh, I'd get stuck now, for sure.
All right, that brings us to the number 1 episode for 2022.
I was surprised by this. I mean, I don't think we did a bad job on it, but I just didn't know there'd be that much traction on it.
And this episode weekly gains probably 50 listens. So this is the Lost Boys of Pickering.
I think it's a case of the people, because it's in Canada, so I'm thinking that a lot of Canadians are interested in it, but not a whole lot of podcasts are covering it.
Correct. I believe you're correct.
I think we're finding listeners on it from people just Googling it, and then they'll find that we did the episode on it. I think that's how we're getting those, which is not a bad thing. I'm not complaining, but
yes, but
just
this
trying to find an explanation,
This is the story of 5 young men that leave a party on St. Patrick's Day to see what they can, quote, get into. And on their way to pick up a 6th person, they decide that they're going to stop at a marina, and on security camera, they are seen taking beer from a boat that's not theirs. Well, 3 of them are. And then a boat and one of those water tricycles is never seen again.
And that's the thing. I believe we touched on it during the episode. I think the water tricycle was just somebody made an insurance claim out of the opportunity, because the fact that a water tricycle was never found is damn near impossible if you know what those things are, because imagine trying to sink one of them, what you would have to do.
Yes, it would have to be a catastrophic failure. And then supposedly, I think we discussed it in the episode, it's the, like, where that would have sunk was not one of the deeper parts. It would have been seen from the air, because the lake where they left the marina, they're suspecting that water tricycle would have sunk into, I mean, deep water, don't get me wrong, but not deep enough it couldn't have been seen from the air. But ne'er a hair has been found in that case. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is the number 1 episode for 2022. So if we look at our wrapped up huge, whatever Spotify did for, what is it called? Yeah, your 2022 wrapped. I'll go through some of those.
I don't know what that is.
It's the Spotify Wrapped.
No
we are
idea.
by no means out there. This is why I didn't publish it. Everybody and their mother was publishing their Wrapped. And I just felt like that we were just scratching the surface. So I
don't listen to Spotify. I do Apple Podcasts.
And I do Castbox, and I know some people do Stitcher, and we've got about 100 people that listen to us on Google Play. So we created 2,509 minutes of new content in the year 2022, and that is 96% more than other creators in the true crime category. So
damn, look at us.
Look at us getting up our
who would have guessed just talking fucking nonsense, dude, you know?
I know. That's what I said when I was looking at it.
Can't outdo True Crime Garage. Them some bitches put out like 4 episodes a week now.
I can't do it.
Of course, that's their full-time job.
I was going to say, they're making, that's their living, so that's why.
I don't like, I'm by no means saying that we are good, but the more I listen to True Crime Garage, they're not like special. I guess maybe they just hit it when the time, timed it right, and they just took off. I mean, they're good. I'm not saying we're better by any means, but there are better ones out there.
Now, the cool thing that I saw for the Wrapped for Spotify, and this is just on Spotify, so this does not take into account, like Coach said, Apple Podcasts or any other platform that you may listen to. But on Spotify, we were heard in over 51 countries, and our top 5 countries were number 5, Australia. Number 4 will shock you, Thailand.
Nice. That's awesome.
Number 3, Canada. Number 2, the UK. And coming in at number 1, the great state of Arkansas. I mean, the United States.
I was about to say, if anything be that U.S., I mean, would Arkansas move? Dude, that's cool that we're getting some play in the UK. I like that.
I do too.
I want one of you guys to, sponsor us. We'll go out there. We'll do any episode you want. We'll do a live show, whatever. Just let us know. We'll be there. I want to go to the UK so bad.
Oh, I do too, man. I do too. I'm afraid if I get out there, I'm not coming back though. But anyway, so we get into it this is just one specific week in March. Let's look at before I get into this so I can kind of see what's going on. But they say that between March 6th and March the 12th, we had a 50% jump in listeners per our average week.
Whoa.
So I'm trying. What
episode was that?
That's what I'm looking for. There's well, there you go. It was the Cryptid Triple Play. And
that's a good one.
The Watcher. So the Watcher and the Cryptid
got some traction because I guess it was right around the time that Netflix was advertising the new series on it. So we may have got some traction for people Googling again.
That's right. The old Google.
People getting on the Goog.
And if you will, whether or not you appreciate the episode, but our Billie Jean Phillips episode that we did back early in our young careers, we rebooted it, gave you a basement cut on it. If you try to Google Billie Jean Phillips, we're like one of the top 3 tags when it comes to Billie Jean Phillips. So our podcast was in the top 10% shared globally.
Hell yeah.
And it was shared, 4% of that was shared through the WhatsApp, 10% through Facebook. The other piece of the pie, just says other, is 18%. Direct links were 21%, and people are sharing our podcast via text at 47%.
Dude. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is. There was a couple of these that are pretty good. And we average 20% of our listeners follow us, and that puts us in the top 10% most followed podcast too. And that's what's crazy. I didn't realize that number, 20% that listen to us actually follow us, puts us in the top 10% of followed podcasts, which I don't know. I thought that to be in the top 10%, that number would have been higher, but I am ecstatic, to say the least.
Well, I mean, I contribute a whole lot to that. I listen on several, different places, and I share, and I'm probably responsible for 90% of that.
Now, you're selling yourself short. I'd say at least 95% short. So they say that the podcast personality that shares us the best and loves us the best is the adventurer, because they love for the adventure that we take them on, according to Spotify. So,
all right. I don't know what that means, but
we on Spotify we are a 4.8 out of 5.
That's pretty good for 4 years of crap.
That's right. You're right, man. It is.
It's quality crap, but come on.
Yeah.
If we could be better, we should be better by now.
We increased our podcast time, I guess, total time by 3%. We increased our streams by 4%. Our listeners grew by a whopping 19%, and our followers increased by 54%. So before this year, that 20% was only less than 10.
Sorry, trying not to sneeze. Oh, I'm sure our listeners wouldn't appreciate that.
Well, it's all right, man. They know it's allergy season. We are a top 10 podcast for 489 fans. We are a top 5 podcast for 306 fans. And there's 90 people. There's 90 people out there that say we are their number one go-to podcast.
I didn't know you had that many relatives.
I didn't either.
Number one. That is incredible. I am so happy. I'm actually gonna have to start trying again.
There you go. If anything, this episode has rejuvenated the young coach. So we put out 45 episodes last year, which is crazy that we knocked out 45 episodes. So,
well, there's 52 weeks. We try to do one a week. So,
yeah,
we do.
We do try. We try, and we try hard. Well, Coach, you got anything to say about 2022? Anything that we didn't cover, man?
Some of the crazy criminal cases or anything pop culture wise that happened this year? Because I want to talk about that girl at the Waffle House fight. Did you see this shit?
She's got her own page, YouTube video now, or YouTube channel now.
Dude,
yeah, she catches that chair, and then she is throwing haymakers with the uppercut until they get her in a hair headlock, and then she's getting pummeled over the top. But dude, she's throwing uppercuts like she's Tyson.
If you guys don't know what we're talking about, very recently it gained traction. It was actually a fight from a year ago, from what I heard, what I understand. But they're calling her the greatest name ever, the last chairbender.
That's right.
Because this girl, there's a fight in a Waffle House, and this woman throws a full-size Waffle House chair at the head of the worker, and she snatches it out of the air like she's Bruce Lee. And the other woman still wants to fight.
I'd have been like, no, I'm good.
As hard as I can, and you just catch it, and then you're agging me on, saying, bring it on, I'm right here. That fight's over. I'm done. I'm going to go to the house.
Not only did she catch it, she caught it by a leg, swung it around her head, and it never touched her. It's crazy.
Like, I'm calling it a night. I'll be like, man, I just want to say I'm sorry. I apologize.
I don't know what got into me, but I was wrong.
holidays and stuff like that. I'm just a little stressed, but just let me take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for everything I might have done to wrong you.
Yes. So talking about true crime, like I said, Rebecca Gould's case was finally solved. We kind of knew who was the culprit, but they finally sentenced him. And it has come out that he has confessed to possibly as many as 5 other murders.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, they're trying to keep that quiet right now. But and then the whole Gabby Petito thing happened this year. We didn't touch on that, but that whole thing, man, that whole thing is so.
The one that was like the blog.
Yeah, they did the blog, and then the family actually supposedly finds Brian Laurie's the boyfriend's remains, and they just happened to, be able to walk 2 miles back where nobody would have ever looked and find some remains, and supposedly it's his. And man, it captivated the nation there for a little bit.
We should have done. We were thinking about doing that Idaho case. What was it? Idaho? The murders.
It was in Moscow, Idaho, I think.
Yeah, the college murders there. But apparently they've arrested that guy.
Yep, he looks like a total winner too. They said somebody was interviewed by the press, and they were saying that
graduate student though, man, he's like already.
Yeah, they said whoever was with that guy that day said that until they arrested him, he said, "Man, I would have never thought that he had done something like that." He said I don't know what they had done, but they had gone out during the day and kind of like hung out and stuff, and said he was fine, didn't act like anything was wrong, and then. I don't know if it was after they saw he left him or whatever, he snapped, and man, that's just fucked up.
Yeah, unfortunately it happened, man. This year was weird for me. First person I ever knew, I'd met a guy that got murdered. He was the world champion jiu-jitsu guy. Leandro Lowe, I'd met him once, took a picture with him. He was murdered this year. And then I actually had a friend of mine who was murdered freaking 3 days before Christmas. Nicest guy you can meet. Got his dang brown belt 10 days earlier.
I know, man. I had seen that he had passed away, and when you told me before we started recording today, I just could not fathom him being murdered, man. That's just horrible.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And then, heck, just last night, that guy from the Buffalo Bills had a dang heart attack on the field. Yeah. Life is fragile, man. It really is.
And we were talking about that too before we started recording. That tackle has made probably every punt and every kickoff, and it does not look that serious. And from what we, kind of...
It didn't look that serious from the replay.
No, and from what we kind of talked about it was one of those freak, it just hit him kind of like a boxer gets punched in the sternum. It kind of puts your heart in AFib, but they equated it to a car crash in a person not wearing a seatbelt hits the steering wheel. That's what they were equating it to last night.
Oh, man, it's crazy because he popped right up like nothing was wrong, and then he just went down like a sack of potatoes.
But I will say this, for all the shit that the NFL gets and they're overpaid babies and stuff like that, both of those teams huddled around him and the medical personnel so that cameras could not see them doing CPR on him.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. You can tell that at that moment they were just, I saw an interview with one of the ESPN reporters that was there, and she said that it went from competitive nature to they were just young men out there that had realized the fragility of life very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's in critical condition, but stable. Hopefully he's going to be okay. They have not released anything since this morning. But yeah, man, it's crazy. Crazy.
Well, you got any year-end recommendations?
Actually, I do, now that you mention it. If you have not seen or knew, I didn't even know about it, But Dave Paulides put out a new Missing 411 movie, and it is titled Missing 411, The UFO Connection. And let me tell you.
This happen? Why am I just now hearing about it?
I don't know, but let me tell you something.
Because you didn't tell me, you jackass. That's why.
I just watched it like Sunday.
On what? Where can I find this?
You can find it on Amazon, but you're going to have to pay for it.
Oh. I don't like that. I
just bit the bullet.
How much was it?
I think I rented it for like $3.99.
That's not too bad.
No. He makes some great, I wouldn't say he makes leaps, but he leaves you with some things. If you're paying attention to one of the cases he touches on, and I actually have written it down. We're going to probably cover it because it's so fascinating. But it makes sense with a lot of his cases, with some of the injuries and things and how they're found. But he doesn't put what he believes out there. He just gives you the facts of the case, and he talks to the guy that was on Art Bell all the time that talked about this week in the national UFO community, there was so-and-so reported. He actually talks to him. He talks to a couple of state directors of MUFON. There's one that he talks to that's actually a lawyer that's also the state director. There's some crazy cases, man, out there. And then the geographical profiling, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but man, it's right there at the end. You're like, holy shit. So if you enjoyed The Hunted, you will enjoy this one. He does briefly go and talk to the sheriff of the Missing 411, the first movie about Dior Koontz. There is no update on it, but they are still, searching, according to them. They interview a lot of the search and rescue people this time in this installment, and so you get to hear what some of these people think when they're out there and they're told the circumstances. So that is my recommendation. What you got?
Well, I want to recommend people get on the line and go to unsolvedmysteries.com, and they're taking like suggestions for new cases for the next season. And I'd like for you to put in Keeslyn Roberts, which is a young lady from my hometown. We have covered her case. She disappeared from the Flying J a couple days after another man did, and they still haven't found her. And the family is not giving up hope. Let's just say that they are desperately trying to find this girl. And they put out a campaign on some of the local Facebook pages to ask people to suggest it for Unsolved Mysteries. So I thought I'd just try to help out as well.
Well, tag me in that, because the guy that is the retired state patrol officer that is the private investigator now, I grew up with him. So,
oh really?
Yeah, maybe if I can find him, maybe we can get an interview with him. He's a good guy.
Oh wow, yeah, man, find him. We'll do an update.
Yeah. So, well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is our year-end review for 2022. We have got some cases coming up in the new year that you will highly, highly enjoy. So with that, Coach, you got anything else?
Go TCU.
Ain't that
I finally
funny?
cheered for Georgia because I absolutely, positively cannot stand Ohio State. There's just something about that team. The fact that they were rated so high every stinking year.
Here's what I said. I told somebody, I pull against Ohio State because their head coach, Coach Day, has an unnaturally black beard. We all know that's coming out of a bottle. Just show the gray, dude. Show the gray.
Oh, yeah. He's using 2 Just for Men's on that shit.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Coach hopefully will be wrong after next week's episode, and we will repeat. But other than that, deuces.